all of our family laws are stuck sort of in this 1950s notion of traditional family, sort of the June and Ward Cleaver model. And I often sort of wonder if that model really ever existed, and if so, who it was beneficial for.
We met in 1990. I was teaching English and international relations and a variety of subjects at a university in Taiwan.
My name is Bookda, and I have twin daughters who are 7, Layla and Zoya.
And it just made it a lot of sense to adopt a child into a family that already had someone who was of the same ethnicity. From the very beginning, I told him that I wanted to have a family, I wanted to have kids. And it's always been part of the equation, part of our relationship. I've always told him that. And if he didn't want to have that as part of the relationship, then our relationship was over. I mean, then we weren't meant to be together. He didn't think it was possible.
And we were still young in our early 20s, and so I wasn't thinking about kids at the time.
For about 10 years, I knew that I really wanted to have kids, and I approached it from a lot of different directions. I talked to good friends who I thought might be interested in donating sperm. I talked with some good friends who I thought might want to co-parent, with some gay couples who I thought might want to co-parent. I thought about it and talked about it a lot. And finally went through a sperm bank in California and found the donor that I thought was really a perfect match for me and what I was looking for, and got pregnant with twins.
When a child is born to a married heterosexual couple, there is a presumption in the law that both those parents are the legal parents to the child. And what that means is there's lots of benefits, rights, and responsibilities and protections that both flow to the parents as well as to the kids. When you're talking about a same-sex couple, oftentimes the child that may be in that relationship may be the legal or biological child of one of the adults, but oftentimes one of those, maybe two, but one of those adults don't have a legal relationship with the child. The Law Center several years ago took a case, this very case, where the non-biological mom said, wait a minute, I've acted as a parent, I've been a parent, I have been this child's mama for 6.5 years. I should be able to at least go into court and ask the court if I can have custody, if I can have visitation. And we brought that case and we took it up to the Washington State Supreme Court, and the Washington State Supreme Court actually created and acknowledged this idea of a de facto parenthood, which is to say that you can be a parent to a child if you've acted as a parent and you've been a parent. Biology isn't necessarily the necessary criteria to determine if you're going to be a parent or not.
Examples of gay couples were not that common in Taiwan, but we did have some other people that we worked with that were gay, and they told us stories of people who were settled, living on Queen Anne in Seattle.
For me, it was different. I didn't know about these Queen Anne couples that his friend told him about, and in Taiwan there was, among our friends, I don't remember any of our friends were in a real long-term relationship, and none of them had kids at all. So it was a brand new idea to me.
As a single mom of 2 7-year-olds and not having any blood-related relatives here in Seattle, I've come to understand family very differently, because I have been supported over the last seven years by a network of really, really loving and caring and supportive friends.
The biggest challenge for me in a biracial relationship, especially being parents, is parenting styles. Me being Taiwanese, Chinese, the way I was brought up is very different, so our kids are a lot, how do I say that? I mean, they were taught to be respectful. You know, in China, the elder you are, the more respect you're supposed to get from everyone. Try to keep, you know, I don't want to say tradition, but you know, some of the cultures, that backgrounds of what I was brought up with.
We actually talk about race constantly, partly because their school is close to 85% non-white, and that non-white percentage is highly diverse, a lot of different nationalities and origins.
Our cultural differences actually plays to our strengths and to our weaknesses, whereas he's more stern and I'm a little easier going, and that plays well because he coaches Kale on piano and on math, and that style works really well when we're tutoring him on those subjects. I'm a little easier going, and I let Kale have a little bit more freedom, and that really helps when we're working on his writing and his reading. So we've sort of divided up those responsibilities, and that seems to play well. Kale understands the concept of same-sex parents in the context that there's all kinds of parents. He doesn't necessarily think of that he has just a daddy and a papa. He thinks of it as a daddy, a papa, a grandma, an uncle, which he calls a susu, and an IE, which is aunt, and a goo-goo, and a grandma. He thinks of his parents as a much broader term. There's lots of ways to build a family, and you have to figure out with your partner what works best for you. But do your homework and investigate what seems going to work.
I really look up to mothers who do a great job of taking care of themselves, who are confident, who have a strong sense of self and strong voice.
Every family deserves to be recognized and should have rights and protections that are afforded to typical families.